The man stopped walking when he saw the small figure alone on the sidewalk, covered in snow. The boy's lips trembled as he looked up and whispered, "Sir, can you please pretend to be my dad, just for 1 minute?" The man froze. He had never seen this child before, and he had no idea that what the boy was about to confess would destroy everything he thought he knew about kindness, guilt, and second chances. Before we continue, if stories like this touch your heart, make sure to subscribe. You're about to hear something that may change the way you see the world. Michael Harrison was not a good man. At least, that's what he told himself every morning when he looked in the mirror. It was December 23rd, and the snow fell thick over the streets of Portland, Maine. Michael pulled his coat tighter as he walked home from another long shift at the warehouse. His boots crunched through the fresh powder, and his breath came out in white clouds. He was 42 years old, divorced for 6 years, and hadn't spoken to his own daughter in 3. Emily would be 16 now. He didn't even know if she remembered his voice. The street was empty. Most people were home, wrapping presents, baking cookies, doing all the things normal families did. Michael kept his head down and kept walking. That's when he saw him, a small boy, maybe 7 or 8 years old, standing alone on the corner beneath a flickering streetlight. He wore a thin jacket, no hat, no gloves. Snow had collected on his shoulders and in his dark hair. His face was red from the cold. Michael slowed. The boy was staring at him with wide, desperate eyes. "Hey, kid!" Michael called out, his voice rough. "Where are you going? You lost!" The boy didn't answer right away. He just kept staring, his small chest rising and falling quickly, like he'd been running or crying. Michael stepped closer. "Where are your parents?" The boy's lips trembled. And then he said it. "Sir, can you please pretend to be my dad, just for 1 minute?" Michael felt something twist in his chest. "What? Just 1 minute?" the boy whispered, tears spilling down his frozen cheeks. "Please, I need you to be my dad. Just once." Michael should have walked away. Every instinct told him this was trouble. A strange kid asking a grown man to pretend to be his father. In today's world, that could get you arrested just for stopping. But something in the boy's eyes held him there, a brokenness Michael recognized because he'd seen it in his own reflection for years. "Why?" Michael asked quietly. "Why do you need me to pretend?" The boy wiped his face with his sleeve. There's a store," he said, pointing down the street. "Murphy's Toys. They close at 7. It's almost 7 now." Michael glanced at his watch. 6:53. "Okay," Michael said slowly. "And my mom," the boy continued, his voice shaking, "she's really sick. She's been sick for a long time. She always wanted to buy me a toy from Murphy's, a robot, the one in the window with the lights. She promised me we'd get it together." Michael's throat tightened. "So why don't you go with her?" The boy looked down at his snow-covered shoes. "She died 2 weeks ago." The words hung in the frozen air between them. "I'm sorry," Michael said, and he meant it. "But she gave me money," the boy said, pulling a crumpled envelope from his pocket. "She saved it, $50. She left it with a note that said, 'For the robot.'" "But Mr. Murphy, the man who owns the store, he said he doesn't sell toys to kids alone. He says kids need to come with their parents." Michael felt his heart breaking. "Kid, please," the boy begged, his voice cracking. "I just need you to stand next to me. You don't have to say anything, just be there, so Mr. Murphy thinks you're my dad. Then I can buy the robot, the one my mum wanted me to have. Please, sir. It's the last thing she wanted. Michael looked into those desperate eyes. He thought about Emily, about all the promises he'd broken, all the moments he'd missed, all the toys he'd never bought because he was too angry, too drunk, too lost in his own pain. "All right," Michael heard himself say. "Let's go." Murphy's Toys was a small shop wedged between a laundromat and a closed diner. The windows glowed warm and golden, filled with trains, dolls, and in the center, a silver robot with blue lights running down its arms. The boy grabbed Michael's hand as they approached the door. His small fingers were ice cold. A bell chimed as they entered. The shop smelled like pine and old books. An elderly man with white hair and glasses looked up from behind the counter. "We're about to close," Mr. Murphy said, but his expression softened when he saw the boy. "Oh, it's you again." "Hi, Mr. Murphy," the boy said quietly. "This is my dad. We came to buy the robot." Mr. Murphy's gaze shifted to Michael, studying him carefully. Michael forced himself to nod, to play the part. He squeezed the boy's hand gently. "Your dad, huh?" Mr. Murphy said slowly. "Funny, you were here yesterday saying your dad was overseas, and the day before that, you said he was working." The boy's hand tightened around Michael's. He came home early, surprised me." Mr. Murphy walked around the counter, his eyes never leaving Michael's face. "What's your son's name?" Michael's mind went blank. He looked down at the boy, panicking. "Daniel," the boy whispered quickly. "My name's Daniel." "Daniel," Michael repeated, his voice steadier than he felt. "We've had a rough couple of weeks. Lost his mother recently. I'm just trying to make things a little better." The lie came easier than Michael expected, maybe because it was wrapped in truth. Mr. Murphy's expression changed, softened. "I'm sorry to hear that. I lost my wife 5 years ago. I know what it's like." He walked to the window and carefully lifted the robot from its display. The lights flickered to life as he brought it to the counter. $50, Mr. Murphy said gently. Daniel pulled out the envelope and carefully counted the bills. His hands shook as he placed them on the counter. Mr. Murphy took the money, wrapped the robot in tissue paper, and placed it in a bag. "You take care of your dad, Daniel, and you take care of him, sir. Boys need their fathers." Michael felt the words like a knife. "I will." They walked out into the snow. Daniel clutched the bag to his chest, and for the first time, Michael saw him smile. A real, genuine smile. "Thank you," Daniel whispered. "Thank you so much. You're welcome, kid." Michael started to turn away, to go back to his empty apartment and his empty life, but Daniel grabbed his sleeve. "Wait," the boy said. "There's something I need to tell you. The real reason I needed you." Michael knelt down in the snow, so he was eye level with the boy. "What is it, Daniel?" Daniel's smile faded. Tears filled his eyes again. "That's not my real name." Michael's stomach dropped. "What?" "My name is Nathan," the boy said. "Nathan Pierce. And my mum didn't die 2 weeks ago. She died 3 years ago. Car accident. I was in the back seat. I survived. She didn't." Michael felt the cold seeping through his jeans, but he couldn't move. "I've been in foster care since then," Nathan continued. 7 different homes. Nobody keeps me. They say I'm too sad, too quiet. Too broken. Kid, I come to this street every year, Nathan said, his voice barely audible over the wind. On this day, December 23rd, it's the day she died, and I stand here in the cold and I wait. I wait for someone to stop, someone to see me, someone to care. Michael's vision blurred. Why? Because nobody pretends anymore, Nathan whispered. Nobody pretends that I matter, that I'm worth stopping for. And if I can get just one person, just one stranger to pretend to be my dad for 1 minute, then maybe I can pretend too, that I'm not alone, that someone cares, that I'm not invisible. The words shattered something inside Michael. The robot, Nathan continued, pulling it from the bag. It's not for me. I'm going to put it on my mum's grave tomorrow. She always wanted to buy me toys, but we never had money. She worked 2 jobs just to keep us fed. But she promised me that one Christmas we'd come to Murphy's together. We'd buy the robot together, but we never did, and I needed to keep that promise for her, with someone, even if they were pretending. Michael couldn't speak. He pulled Nathan into his arms and held him as the boy sobbed into his shoulder. I see you, Michael whispered into the cold air. You're not invisible. Not to me. They stayed like that for a long time, 2 broken people holding each other in the snow. Michael didn't go home that night. Instead, he took Nathan to a diner that was still open. They sat in a corner booth, and Michael bought him hot chocolate and pancakes. Nathan told him about his mother, about the accident, about the foster homes that never felt like home. And Michael told him about Emily, about the mistakes he'd made, about the man he used to be and the man he was trying to become. Do you think she'd forgive me? Michael asked. If I tried to reach out? Nathan looked at him with those wise, wounded eyes. I think people who love you always hope you'll come back, even when you've been gone a long time. The next morning, December 24th, Michael did 3 things. First, he called his ex-wife. It was the hardest phone call of his life, but she answered. And after a long conversation filled with tears and apologies, she agreed to let him see Emily on Christmas Day. Second, he went to Nathan's current foster home and spoke to his caseworker. Michael wasn't in a position to adopt, not yet, but he started the process. He attended the meetings. He filled out the paperwork. He showed up. Week after week, month after month, he showed up. And third, he drove Nathan to the cemetery. They walked through the snow together, and Nathan placed the silver robot on his mother's grave. The blue lights flickered in the gray morning light. I kept the promise, Mom, Nathan whispered. Just like you wanted. Michael stood beside him, his hand on the boy's shoulder, no longer pretending. 6 months later, Michael got the call. Nathan's adoption was approved. The day Nathan moved in, carrying a small backpack with everything he owned, Michael knelt down and looked him in the eyes. I'm not perfect, Michael said. I've made a lot of mistakes. I'm going to make more. But I promise you this. You will never be invisible again. You will never have to wait in the snow alone. You're my son now. For real. Nathan dropped his backpack and wrapped his arms around Michael's neck. I know, Nathan whispered. I knew that first night, when you stopped, when you saw me. Sometimes the greatest gifts we give aren't the ones wrapped in paper. They're the moments we choose to stop, to see, to care, to pretend until the pretending becomes real. And sometimes the people we save end up saving us. If this story touched you, please share it with someone who needs to hear it. And remember, you never know when stopping for just 1 minute might change 2 lives forever.